From a distance, it still looks like paradise. Rolling green hills, turquoise waves breaking on a crescent shore. But step closer, and the silence speaks louder. Empty streets, crumbling buildings, cars frozen in time, half buried in ash. There's something unsettling about places that were abandoned all at once, as if the people had vanished mid-sentence. For nearly 4 centuries, life here was quiet, peaceful. The kind of island where everyone knew each other, where calypso music floated through the air and children ran barefoot on warm roads. But then came the smoke, then the thunder, then the mountain, silent for hundreds of years, roared back to life. Thousands fled. Some never came back. And the capital city, once the heartbeat of the island, was swallowed whole. What force could erase a community like this? And what happened to the people who called it home? This is Montserrat Island. Montserrat lies in the eastern Caribbean, nestled among the Leeward Islands. But beneath its postcard beauty lies a volatile truth. The island sits squarely atop the boundary, where the Atlantic plate dives beneath the Caribbean plate, a classic subduction zone. This collision of Earth and magma gave rise to the Soufriere Hills volcano, a massive dome complex made of thick, sticky andesitic lava. For centuries, the volcano slept. Its last known eruption was sometime in the 17th century. Generations lived and died without ever suspecting what lay beneath. To most residents, the hills were simply part of the landscape, green, serene, and dependable. But geologists knew better. The dense dome of hardened lava, long dormant, was a pressure cooker. And like all pressure cookers, it could only stay sealed for so long. In 1995, after 400 years of quiet, the mountain stirred. And Montserrat would never be the same. It began with tremors, subtle at first. In 1992, small earthquakes rumbled beneath the Soufriere Hills. Most went unnoticed. But by late 1994, the shaking grew stronger, more frequent. Something was shifting deep underground. Scientists set up monitoring stations. The data was clear. Magma was rising. In July 1995, steam and ash burst from the summit. Phreatic explosions caused by groundwater flashing into steam sent columns of smoke into the sky. The air changed. Ash began to settle on rooftops and in gardens. People started wearing masks. Livestock grew restless. And yet, daily life continued. The idea that a full-blown eruption could follow seemed distant, abstract. Still, authorities issued warnings. By August, the first evacuation orders came, mostly voluntary at first, then mandatory. Residents left in haste, thinking they'd return in days. Schools were closed, streets were emptied. The volcano had everyone's attention now, but few understood what was coming next. This wasn't going to be a single explosion, followed by calm. What lay ahead was a slow-motion disaster, one that would last for years and test the resilience of an entire island. The buildup was over. The eruption had begun. By the end of 1995, Soufriere Hills was fully awake and angry. Lava began pushing to the surface, forming a growing dome at the summit. With it came clouds of hot gas and choking ash, drifting across the island like an ominous veil. The danger wasn't just in the explosions, it was in what followed. Pyroclastic flows, deadly rivers of superheated gas, ash, and rock, racing down the slopes at hurricane speeds. They incinerated everything in their path. In June 1997, the worst happened. A massive collapse of the lava dome triggered a pyroclastic surge that engulfed the capital, Plymouth. Streets vanished beneath a tide of fire and dust. Buildings were crushed, burned, or buried. The city, once alive with music and markets, was reduced to a scorched shell. 20 people died that day, caught in the wrong place, at the wrong time. Many more had already fled, but even from a distance, they could see the smoke rising from what used to be their homes. The government declared a full evacuation of the southern part of the island. Entire villages became ghost towns overnight. Plymouth, the island's only port and commercial hub, was declared uninhabitable. The eruption didn't end there. For months, and even years, activity continued in cycles. Dome growth, collapse, explosions. Each episode brought new destruction. Montserrat wasn't just facing a single event. It was enduring a slow, relentless assault. And no one knew when it would end. For the people of Montserrat, the eruption wasn't just geological, it was deeply personal. Roughly 2/3 of the island's 11,500 residents were forced to evacuate, many with little more than a suitcase. Some moved to the northern safe zone, cramming into schools and churches converted into shelters. Others left the island entirely, scattered to nearby Antigua, the UK, or the US, unsure if they'd ever return. Life in the shelters was hard. Overcrowding, heat, limited supplies. Families were separated, schools closed. Jobs vanished overnight, and still, they waited. Days turned to weeks, weeks into years. Plymouth, once the heart of the island, was gone. The church where generations were married, the market where friends gathered, the homes, the gardens, the memories, all buried beneath 40 feet of ash and debris. Some tried to rebuild, clinging to what was left. But with every new explosion, hope dimmed. The exclusion zone grew, claiming more homes, more lives. The mental toll was just as heavy. Grief, uncertainty, and the ache of displacement settled like another layer of ash over the community. Montserratians were no longer just islanders. They were survivors. And yet, even in the darkest days, there were flickers of resilience. Neighbors helped neighbors. Music still played. And amid the ruins, a quiet determination took root. They had lost a home, but not their identity. Before the eruption, Montserrat's economy was modest but stable, built on tourism, farming, and fishing. The volcano changed everything. Plymouth wasn't just the capital. It was the island's economic engine. Its loss meant the collapse of nearly every major institution: banks, government offices, the hospital, the airport, and the only seaport. With it went businesses, jobs, and decades of progress. Tourism vanished almost overnight. Farmlands in the fertile south were buried or abandoned. Trade routes were cut off. The island, once self-sustaining, became heavily reliant on international aid, especially from the United Kingdom. But culture proved harder to erase. In 1997, British rock legends like Paul McCartney, Elton John, and Sting held a benefit concert, Music for Montserrat, raising over £1 million to support recovery. It was a fitting tribute to the island's rich musical heritage, once anchored by George Martin's AIR Studios, which had drawn global artists to its peaceful shores. Still, the damage ran deep. Thousands emigrated, many never to return. Those who stayed had to reimagine what Montserrat could be without Plymouth, without its past. But culture, language, music, memory remained intact. Even displaced, the soul of the island endured. Long after the headlines faded, Montserrat continued to live with the volcano's shadow. The eruptions didn't stop in 1997. Dome collapses and ash plumes continued into the 2000s. The last major activity came in 2010, but the southern 2/3 of the island remain an exclusion zone, off-limits, and largely uninhabited. In the north, life began anew. A new capital, Braids, was established. Government offices moved, homes were rebuilt, a small airport opened. Slowly, piece by piece, a future emerged. But rebuilding wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Communities had to rediscover their rhythm. Schools reopened, festivals returned. The rhythm of island life, though altered, found its beat again. Today, Montserrat is quieter. Its population has shrunk to about 5,000. But what remains is deeply rooted. The people are proud, and their identity, forged in fire, is unshakable. Volcanologists from around the world now study the Soufriere Hills, making Montserrat a center for volcanic research. The tragedy has given way to insight into both geology and human endurance. Recovery here isn't a straight line. It's a slow, steady climb. But every new building, every planted tree, every returned song is a testament to the island's will to endure. Some disasters strike in a moment. Others unfold like a long, slow storm. Montserrat's tragedy was both. What happened here is a reminder. Nature doesn't ask permission. It rewrites landscapes, redefines lives, but it also reveals something deeper. What people are made of when everything familiar disappears. The people of Montserrat lost homes, history, and loved ones, but they didn't lose themselves. In their resilience, there's a quiet strength, a lesson in adaptation, in community, in hope. Today, the island stands not just as a place changed by fire, but as a living symbol of how life can rise from ash. Thank you for watching. Did you know this about Montserrat, and would you ever visit this island? Let us know in the comments, and please like and subscribe for more incredible island stories.